Can someone be a W-2 employee and a 1099 contractor at the same time?
Not for the same company. You would need two separate lines of compensation because you can't be two classifications as one person in a company.
But that's also, as someone who is a creator and you're doing this, that's where the upfront conversation and having the guidelines comes in, because I know for one, and people who are buying this are always asking you, what are the usage rights?
Right. And it's common in the marketplace. So you're not trying to teach people something new, especially when it comes to commission plans. It's the employees are confused about how their commission is calculated.
Companies are finally catching on. Your employees are probably your best content creators. They know your products, they know your customers, and their content. It feels real in a way most influencer partnerships just don't. But here's the part most haven't figured out yet. How do you actually pay them fairly? Do you tack it onto their hourly rate? Pay per post? Build a commission structure? That's where Cynthia Abbott Kerr comes in. She's built these systems, and today we're digging into what fair compensation really looks like when your employees become your creators. Cynthia, welcome to Workfluencer.
Thank you for having me.
So for those listeners who aren't familiar with you, can you share who you are and what you do best?
Certainly. So my specialty is building out compensation programs and strategies for companies. So that would look like building commission programs for Saks Fifth Avenue, or building equity plans for Omada Health, or building out a pay band structure for Exowatt. So my specialty in the human resources function has been building pay programs and strategies that align to the needs of the business and also incent the behaviors of the individuals that are employed by that business.
And now you founded your own company that's all about compensation. Can you tell us a little bit about Wellpay?
Yeah, absolutely. So Wellpay is an AI company that services businesses and helps them align and design their pay strategies. And what that means in a nutshell is I can take all of your disparate data, your employee data, your survey data, your sales plans, your equity grants, and I can work with Wellpay.AI and bring it all together in a way that makes sense in a very short amount of time.
That's amazing. So let's start with the question like everyone's dodging, right? When you have employees that create content for your brand, should you pay them?
I think yes. And I've actually had time to kind of noodle on this since you and I were sending some messages about it. I think, yes, you should pay them. And I think it should be a really clear commission structure. Now, what's going to be difficult is it's going to be difficult to assign attainment. So I live in Las Vegas. I could see an ad for, that an influencer, let's say someone that works at Ulta, posts about this lipstick. And I say, man, I really want to go buy this lipstick. However, I may be buying it at a store in Las Vegas when it was a content creator that posted this in Seattle, Washington. So I think the best approach would actually be to tie the commission structure to the outcomes of the store. So as the store exceeds profits, the individuals in that location are also receiving some of the award, because it's going to be hard to say, oh, well, you saw this in California, but you bought it in Las Vegas, but how do we attain that back? Our systems aren't designed for that level of complexity yet. And neither are businesses, right? Like they have a SKU number, but they don't know that it's assigned to you in Las Vegas and a different one to you in Seattle. It's just the SKU number for the lipstick, right?
Because the internet is so global.
Oh, yes.
And what if your store isn't doing good, but you're killing it out there on social media and happen to be seen by everyone in Las Vegas when you are at the store, I don't know, right up the street here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where maybe there's not that much lipstick being sold? How do you reconcile that? Because then if I'm being compensated based on what my store's doing, but I'm killing it online and driving traffic to other stores, should it be a mix? Like, should I get paid per post and then commission, or how should that?
That's a really smart question. And I think there could also be another strategy, because to your point around, let's say someone in Oklahoma is doing incredible content, but there's just not the volume because maybe that's not the market, right? I think a company could, yes, reward for post, and also, explore affiliate links, right? So maybe I just want to buy that lipstick directly from your TikTok shop. I don't need to go in to the store unless I need to return it, right? Maybe it wasn't the right shade for me. It was too orange. I need more of a red blue. And so I'm going to take it back. But I think a way to move through that would be to have an affiliate link, because it's really clear. You bought it on the website. It's sold. It's easy to capture. I do think there is an integrity piece here, and that if you have employees creating content for your company and your brand, there needs to be some level of compensation. This is their time, this is their effort, and also their audience that they're creating. I think it's a very smart move, because for a number of years, it was always no phones at work, don't have your phone out. And it kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because if we go back, like when you and I were growing up, the cool place to be in the 90s for makeup was MAC. The makeup artists at the MAC counter, they were close to rock star status. They were cool. They were edgy. They had all the fun, makeup combos, and they were effectively selling it based on wearing it themselves. And that's really what social media is saying like, hey, this is how I look and how this looks on me. It could look good on you. Why not take advantage of that? Now, there's also going to need to be policy around that. And that if you're posting on behalf of the company, you obviously can't post anything derogatory.
Yeah.
But as far as compensation, I think let's explore the spaces, right? Is it a combination of you're rewarded on store performance? Like, is there a company component and an individual component? So to your point, maybe your store isn't doing amazing, but you are with the posting and with the affiliate link. So you're making commission there. And then if your store starts to increase in volume and sales, you then get rewarded there.
I like that. Be honest. You're probably coming back next week anyway. Make it official. Like and subscribe. It helps other people find Workfluencer, and it gives me one more reason to keep doing this. So you've actually done this. This is not hypothetical, but conversation, which is why I'm excited to have you here. You've built commission structures for employee creators before. Can you walk us through like what that looked like in practice?
The map out of what you want the program to be is actually relatively simple, right? We want to hit X target. We have Z locations. We have, this amount of employees selling across these locations. Where it becomes complicated is actually the tracking and attainment of those dollars. So I think when we design, reward systems and programs, it's easy to think of it from the space of, oh, here's the program. I think the bigger lift, and what I do in a lot of my business, is to say, all right, once this is in place, or even before it's in place, how are we going to make sure everyone is getting the proper allocation? Because there's nothing that's more disheartening and just, it just really breaks a lot of people's spirits when they feel like they're constantly having to fight and negotiate for their commission, when they're calculating something completely different than, let's say, the finance or operations team. And it's like, this isn't the spirit of what we were trying to do here. So on one side, it's here's our strategy. Here's the program we're going to deploy. Then it's how do we calculate it and ensure that everyone is doing it the same way, right? Because you have to have consistency in your information and how it rolls back up through finance and the business. And also, do your employees understand how they're going to be paid? Do they understand that if they sell this $25 lipstick, that commission is going to be, let's say, 5%. And then if they sell this $700 beauty system, let's say that commission is 15%. And do they understand that there's different levels of commission depending on products that are sold? Because I think it's easy to plan. It's harder to communicate and be consistent. And that's really where I try to work with leaders in communication through our actions and our systems, and also consistency.
I believe you built this commission for creators when you were at Saks, right? Did you have any pushback or like any that came internally? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, yes. Well, there's always this, I think, kind of in America, we've been going through iterations and phases of what employment looks like for every generation. And the boomer generation had very much a top-down, my boss tells me what to do interaction with either employees or their employer, depending on where they sit. And it also it created a lot of kind of infantile structures in companies. So when we're being more progressive, and even, we're used to it now in 2025, but the concept of, hey, this is how you're paid and this is how we're putting it together can still be a big change management moment for a lot of companies, especially a company as storied as Saks. So a lot of the pushback was around, well, what happens if we need to make changes? We're communicating this program. What if we need to be more agile? This kind of fear of, are we oversharing? And where we landed with finance, the business leaders, and, the HR leadership was the business always reserves the right to make a change depending on business outcomes. That's going to be in every commission statement, program, ever.
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere. But that we're not doing ourselves any service. We're not motivating or incenting these behaviors. If we want people to go out and sell, we need to tell them what they can be rewarded if they sell. And then if we want to couple that and say, hey, if you create content that's a benefit to us and yourself, here's what that could be. That being in this murky space doesn't reward anybody. It doesn't make anybody want to go out and sell more, because it could be that one extra video you made about that one lipstick that you tried, using lipstick as a reference point, because I'm a lipstick person. Or it could be that one eyeliner you tried that just came in and you said, hey, I'm going to throw this on and show you what this quick eye combo looks like that can go viral. That cloudiness and confusion doesn't incent behaviors. And I think when we're talking about commission strategies, whether it's for content creators or individuals who are in a selling, relationship to their company, clarity is kindness. Clarity is, here, we understand what we need to do to make X happen. And so that's still some of the pushback I get in my business is like, well, how much of this do we want to share? Let's share it. And also when you share it, you also understand what people are understanding, right?
Yes.
When you put it out to your workforce, you get to see how they're digesting it. Because if they're not digesting it in the way you intended it, maybe your message and your program are confusing.
I'm team be as clear as possible with everything, but definitely with money. When it comes to money, like I'm the type of employee that I don't even participate in bonus, or I don't even try to get to the bonus and stuff like that, because I call it bonus math. It's like, I don't even know what's happening. So if you work at a place that's explaining things to you clearly, I think it also helps with adoption and with people being interested in doing it, because it's not going to be this murky, like, whatever is happening there, commission math, that all of a sudden it's like, well, I may or may not get something type of thing. And I know this kind of comp design is a big part of what you do now at Wellpay. What kinds of companies are coming to you with asking for help with this type of thing, and what problems are they trying to solve?
The companies that are coming our way are a variety of industry and sector. So everything from manufacturing to, biotech to pharmaceutical, to beauty, to retail, to healthcare. So very fortunate that we're very industry agnostic. I think the core of what companies are trying to solve is really a triangle, right? How do I incent my workforce to, maximize productivity? How do I make sure I'm cost aligned to my bottom line, the shareholders, et cetera? And then how do I make sure that I'm close enough to the market to be competitive, but not over, right? That's where kind of the three sides of the triangle set. And depending on market conditions, any one side of that triangle can be bigger or smaller, depending on, where we are in the state of the economy. But I think it really comes back to, how do I design this to where it incents behaviors and also is aligned to, the goals, the strategy, and the mission of the company.
Quick break. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but don't know where to begin, I've got something for you. I'm letting women in TA, HR, or employer brand take over the Workfluencer podcast for one episode.
I am so excited to be able to do a podcast takeover.
And I'm joining Rhona Pierce today as a guest host. Rhona is the creator of the Workfluencer podcast.
You get a behind-the-scenes look at how I plan and produce everything. I handle all the editing, and you walk away with a fully edited episode, social clips, and the audio to launch your own pod if you want to. If that sounds like your kind of test drive, head over to workfluencerpodcast.com to apply. Well, I want to go back to what you were talking about, like attribution really is the challenge when it comes to the commission-based structure, right? Is there a minimum viable system that companies need to have in place before they even think about launching one of these programs?
So I would actually take a more simplistic approach. And I would say we're going to pick on Ulta for a minute, just because they're a massive beauty retailer. Love their products. If I were Ulta, I would say we're going to start selling on TikTok Shop. And I would make it to where my associates could be affiliates. So there's no muss, there's no fuss. You've got these affiliate links in your TikTok profile. Obviously, if you're going to make content on behalf of the company, it has to be, within our guidelines. You can't do anything inappropriate. We really want you making content at the store, so not out in the parking lot, while you're slurping down your venti latte and trying to put your makeup on while driving the car. We don't want that. We want you to do it in our store under good lighting and, show how fun it is, that it's like a party to be here and shop and buy. I would also provide a general stipend. So in California, you have to provide stipend for employees that are using their cell phone for work. I would make that universal across the company, that every employee was going to receive, a cell phone technology stipend. That way I'm incenting that behavior. So, let's say you're really killing it in Oklahoma. That store is not that busy, but you can direct people to your affiliate link and you can get that commission. And it's also very trackable. So as the technology catches up, we can pull reports and look and see and say, hey, these are the content creators that are really selling a lot of this product. And then I'd bring you all together at the end of the year from across the world, my top, let's say 50 global sellers, and have an additional layer of reward for you at the end of the year once I've had the chance to collate all this data from social media. And I would be very targeted with what social media, sites and stores we sold on. I think TikTok is the place,
Yes.
And that's where I would target it.
It's interesting. Taking Ulta as an example, I don't know how they're doing it. I know that they're paying their creators. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly how. As I started researching this topic, now I get, how TikTok works. Now my feed is full of all of the TikTok,
yes.
All the Ulta employees on TikTok who are doing this. I don't think they have a TikTok shop link. They're just really trying to drive people to the store. Mm-hmm. And I think they're taking the celebrity influencer approach, because I know already of a few that if I'm ever in their city, I'm going to that store just to meet the people that are doing it. So I don't know how they're doing it, but I do think if you're going to do the commission structure, then having a clear way, like a TikTok shop link or an affiliate link or something that people can use is definitely a very, very smart and simple way of doing it. Right. And honestly, it's the same way everyone's doing it with creators and with external influencers that don't work for you.
Right. Right. And it's common in the marketplace. So you're not trying to teach people something new, right? That's kind of a harder uphill battle than what we think it will be. So you're doing something that people have a general understanding of how to interact with. One, because two, you want to create as low barrier to trade for buying your product as possible. Three, the incentives are really clear. Sell this, get that. And maybe you also know more about certain products, so that's what your affiliate links are, versus maybe you're an Ulta associate in Des Moines, Iowa, and you're big into skincare. So maybe that's more of your affiliate links. So the company's not telling you what you must or must not, sell. You can pick and choose. Maybe it's also seasonal. So it really puts the creator in the space of having a lot of control over their financial destiny, if it were, based on what they could sell.
Let's talk classification, right?
Yeah.
Some of your employees have a creator business on the side, and they might want to be paid via their creator business, right? Because of all the tax breaks and all of this that we hear. Can someone be a W-2 employee and a 1099 contractor at the same time?
Not for the same company. No. And that is, I think, the sticky part is, you're creating content maybe for your own business, but you're also working at, let's say, an Ulta, and you're creating content for them. You would need two separate lines of compensation, because you can't be two classifications as one person in a company. I think there's ways to reward people in this, though. I think making it easy to sell and affiliate links is probably the cleanest. Because also then if you depart Ulta, you can still sell, right? And Ulta's not going to have a problem with it because you're still selling their product.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You're selling all of these lipsticks and lip stains and cosmetics and what have you. But it is that, and also who owns the content. So if you're creating for Ulta's going to own that, or any business, they're going to own the content that you create, even if you're no longer employed at that company. And that can be a hard move too for creators, and that you don't get complete dominion over what you've created.
Yes, that's definitely something to consider. But that's also, as someone who is a creator and you're doing this, that's where the upfront conversation and having the guidelines comes in, because I know, for one, and people who are buying this are always asking you, what are the usage rights? How long can I use this? Who owns it? So having those conversations up front, just like the compensation conversation, are really the important things before you go and tell all of your employees to start being creators and giving them commissions. You have to talk about these things.
Yes. And our employment agreements are getting longer and longer. So I'd imagine it's buried in like page 15 or 16, but there's probably a clause around inventions and content in, really, it technically should be in every offer letter. But anything you've invented or created prior, go ahead and list that out. It may not have a value now and may be valuable 5, 10, 15 years from now. But you want to go ahead and list out what you own, what you've invented, and what you've created, because you don't want a business to be able to come along and say, hey, you created that while you worked for us. That's now ours.
And I think this is a very important point that I want to make sure that listeners are understanding, because a lot of people hide their creator businesses because we know there are companies out there that don't want you to be a creator. So then when they get these forms that we've all seen when we onboard to a company, they don't list these inventions because they think it has to be something big that's out there in the market. But you have to list these things because they can come, especially if you're talking about products similar to what the company sells and stuff like that. They can claim ownership over anything that you did while you were working with them, if they have a way of proving that you did it company hours, on premises, or anything. So it's just list these things out.
100%. List them out. And also, if we're looking at an employment agreement, also go through and understand what a company's moonlighting policy is. Now, it's 2025 and nothing about the world is getting cheaper. So I think we're going to run into a space where you have people that have multiple engagements, maybe a main engagement and a side or two, just depending. Some of it's due to interest, some of it's due to necessity, and completely respect that. I mean, we are the side hustle generation.
Yes.
But I think have clarity on that. People can get kind of in this excited / stress space, like, oh my God, if I don't sign this, I won't have the job. Sit down with it and really understand. And if you need help understanding it, reach out to a lawyer. Don't try to use ChatGPT to read a legal document. It didn't go to law school. You also don't get any confidentiality with ChatGPT. It's all discoverable. Yes. So versus you can have a confidential conversation with your lawyer. But it's important to understand who owns what, how you're going to get paid, and then also how this can impact your future.
And people would be surprised. There are lawyers out there that won't charge you for something like this. Like I've reached out to employment lawyers to help me read severance agreements or stuff like that. And they've said, look, I can take a quick look at this and tell you yes or no. If you want more or more in-depth consultation, then these are the prices. But they understand you're just someone trying to sign an employment agreement. You're probably been unemployed for a while. They will give a quick run through and help you. So like, don't be afraid to ask. But yes, ChatGPT is not a lawyer. So let's say you're an employee. How would you want to be paid? What should employees be asking for or about when they're getting into these content creation for their employers?
I would want to understand what's my base rate. If I work X amount of hours, what's my guaranteed take home? Then let's talk about what I could potentially earn if I choose to be a content creator. Because then there's a whole other, crop of people who are like, I don't want to create any content, right? I just want to come to work and work, which is perfectly fine. So I think you have to spell out, if you want to become a creator and create content here at our business, this is what this looks like. 1, you're getting a cell phone and technology stipend. 2, we'd like you to create, let's say it's a minimum of 5 short videos a week. And that we want you to use either the products of the season or something that we're trying to promote. Like, I think there has to be a lot of clarity and guidance around what you would like someone to do. Because, you could have a creator that's like, man, I just really like this perfume. And it's like, no one's buying that. Like, I get that you like it, but quit making videos about things that aren't selling. Right. So I think there needs to be a lot of structure and strategy around what we would want someone to create. If someone said to me, hey, I want you to come work at Ulta and create content. All right, what is it you want me to create? What's the parameter? And then if I do this, what's my reward? And it could also be a longer reward. Like, we're going to wait and see what happens, every quarter, right? So every quarter, we're going to calculate the previous quarter and see what our sales were and then know what your commission should be. Or maybe we're going to look at a 6-month period or even a year, depending on how long, we want to set the parameter of the commission. And so then the company's calculating, but I need to know what my base level is. And then if I want to take on being a creator, what that 1 expectation is from the company, and 2, what that potential reward could look like.
I like it. Any questions around taxes that people should be asking?
Yes, definitely meet with a tax expert and understand, what the tax implication could be depending on what, commission you earn and when you earn it. A tax professional can sit down and help you project and help you anticipate what these large amounts of take-home pay could be, and help you plan also for your filing. The good thing about being an employee is that a lot of your filing is already done for you because you are a W-2, versus if you're an independent, business owner, creator, what have you, you have to be responsible for your own filings. But definitely work with a tax professional to understand what, those implications could be.
Yeah, to avoid any surprises that you might have on your paycheck or at the end of the year with tax bills and stuff like that. And it's different in every state. So it's best to take that advice from a professional that knows about what's happening in what will it be for your case specifically. Again, don't ask ChatGPT for this type of advice.
Right.
So if someone listening is thinking about launching an employee content program, what's one thing that you wish companies would stop doing when it comes to compensating employee creators?
Making it complicated. I think, far too often businesses try to take a Baskin-Robbins approach and they're going to sell all of these flavors. I think simple is best. I would start with maybe 5 products in our pantheon of inventory that we want to try and sell, and see if content creation can give us that lift. I would have controls in the experiment so that I could monitor and know and see what is actually gaining a return. Because if you try to just sell everything all at once, like, it's just going to be kind of a mosh pit of things being possibly sold, not sold. You don't know, you're tracking this, you're tracking that. But I would say clarity, that most of the time, especially when it comes to commission plans, it's the employees are confused about how their commission is calculated. And the reason for that is because the plan that they were given is confusing. And then finance is confused about how they should be calculated and paid. So you've got basically just a giant circle of no one understands how they should be paid. And then that really defeats the purpose of having a commission-based reward.
Great advice. What's happening next for Wellpay.AI?
Yeah, well, very excited. Jessica Winder has joined us as an ambassador.
Yay.
So, we're rapidly moving into Q4. Q4 is really the time of year where businesses are kind of in that space of like, oh my goodness, we need to get our compensation strategy. We either need to get all of our jobs aligned to market. We need to evaluate our commission plans before we go into January. The last thing you want to do is be halfway through the fiscal year and then say, all right, we're going to reevaluate plans and structures. Do that before the year kicks off, so that everybody has time to understand what you need them to go out and achieve, and how their role is going to fit into the business at large. And so Jessica is going to be joining us on this journey to help us think, strategically, and how do we continue to partner with CHROs and CPOs. I think when I first got into compensation, it was kind of more of the back office function, right? Yeah. And now it's really having its moment, and rightfully so, that a lot of compensation and rewards leaders are taking the main stage, because people are your most critical aspect to your business. They're also going to be one of the most costly. So it's important to get it right.
And people are also learning and being more educated and being empowered to ask about compensation and have opinions. So yeah, it totally makes sense that compensation leaders are not in the shadows like before. How can listeners connect with you?
Reach out to me. My email is Cynthia@Wellpay.AI, or you're welcome to send me a note on LinkedIn. To anyone who's listening, if you're, driving in the car or on the treadmill or what have you, and you're like, man, I really need to get my compensation aligned, or, finance and I have been talking about redoing the commission statements, but that feels like a lot of work. That's okay. Reach out to me. We have patented tools and technology that just allow us to move faster and get to an accurate solution more quickly. So there's no time like the present. But yes, Cynthia@Wellpay.AI, or you can find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. And I will link all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. If you're enjoying the Workfluencer pod, share it with someone who's changing how we talk about work, or who should be. And hey, if this episode gave you ideas or inspiration, leave us a 5-star review. Reviews help other listeners find us, and honestly, it makes my day. Workfluencer is produced by Perceptible Studios. Learn more about how we can help you use video to attract, engage, and retain qualified talent at perceptiblestudios.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll chat with you next week.